Taking notes at work is really different from taking personal notes like journaling or writing out to-do lists. And it's also really different from taking notes at university when you always had lecture slides that you could refer back to. In general, there are 3 rules that I have for the notes I take at work. The first is that my brain is for having ideas, not for holding them. When I'm in a meeting and there are like 36 different things that we discuss, I'm definitely not going to rely on my brain to remember all of that. So anything that we discuss that's important must be written down so that it's out of my brain. Second, note-taking at work should be really easy and quick. That's the biggest difference between university and work. At university, you have lecture slides that you can always refer back to later, so you can really color code everything and get really fancy. But at work, you don't have a lot of time, so I use really basic symbols and columns that show me exactly where I stand on an item without having to physically write a lot. And finally, my note-taking system now has a way to resurface important information when I need it. So if someone tells me to follow up with them in a week, I can actually remember to do that, and I can also track how many times I followed up with someone, so I know exactly where we stand on it and how urgent it is, and what we need to do about it next. Now let's talk about what I use to take my notes. So I use both my work laptop and also a physical notebook to take all my notes, and the reason for this is that I have roughly 2 categories of meetings that I generally attend, and both of them require a different approach. The first is typically an external meeting, so this could be me going out to meet a distributor or a client or an agency. It's very much on the go, and it's often a smaller, more intimate meeting where you're trying to build a relationship with someone who's not your direct colleague. So having your laptop out in this case would be considered really rude. The second, and again very common type of meeting, is within my company. This could be a one-on-one with my manager, or it could be an internal cross-functional meeting where we book out a meeting room. And there's a whole bunch of colleagues from different departments that work together. They can plan a product launch, or it could be to discuss sales and brand performance. Everyone in these meetings typically brings their laptops and they quietly multitask until they have to present. Everyone is on their laptop anyway, so I use my work laptop to take all my notes. Now let me show you how I actually take notes in both these meetings. For my physical notes, I have 2 favorite notebooks that I just repurchase again and again. The first is this hardcover by Moleskine. The second are the Leuchtturm 1970 notebooks. I've had both the softcover and the hardcover, and I like to get these kind with the blank white pages so I can take notes and draw diagrams and kind of doodle around if I want to. Also, if you're interested, I use the Muji 0.38mm gelling pens. They're cheap and easily available, and I love how thin the tip is, so it glides really well on the paper and it doesn't smudge or spread. This is what my notes from a meeting typically look like. Let me show you how I write this and my super easy system to not let things fall through the cracks. Okay, let's imagine here that I work for a consumer goods company that makes shaving razors, and I have a meeting with my advertising agency to discuss how we will plan the launch of an upcoming product, which let's say is a limited edition razor in a delicious lavender scent. On the top, I'll write the name of the agency I'm meeting and then specifically what we're discussing. So the 2023 ad campaign to launch Razor Lavender. On the right, let's add the date. Then I'll add who I'm meeting along with their designations so I can remember exactly who they were and what expertise they had. I have 3 main sections that I use for all my meetings. First, I have comments, which is basically my comments for myself to help me remember any facts I need to know for the meeting or anything else that I need to remember to ask or discuss as an agenda item. So before this meeting, maybe my comments are to discuss how we're going to make a 360-degree impact with this campaign, would a budget of 200K be enough, and maybe how we're going to split the budget between marketing, media, PR, and POS. The next 2 sections are to write during the actual meeting. So first in notes, I summarize all the key facts and information that we discussed during the meeting together, and then in the to-do section, I write the next steps so we can make sure that the project actually moves forward. And I'll verbally also check with the team just to make sure that we're on the same page on what I need to do after the meeting and what they need to do after the meeting. After the meeting is over, I track progress on the to-do list in 4 easy ways. When a task is done, I check the box. If a task is urgent, then I add a little star next to it so that when I'm flipping through my notes later, I can kind of look out for these stars, and if something has a star next to it and it's still not done, then I know that it's a priority for the day. Then for the tasks for the other team, let's say that I don't hear back on a task and I send a follow-up, then I'll mark it with a little F1 so I know that I followed up once. If they still don't get back to me in a few days, then I'll follow up again and add a little F2 and so on. Again, so when I'm flipping through my notes later, if something has these little F's and the task is still not done, then I'll make sure that it gets done during that day. Finally, if we had added something to the to-do list together and it's not needed anymore, then I simply cross it out. Once everything is either checked or crossed out, then I know that everything from this page is done, and I highlight the top of the page to mark this as successfully complete. For my digital notes, I have a template on Google Docs that's quite similar to my physical note-taking style. I've linked it in the description so you can easily copy it. Similar to my other notes, I write the meeting name, date, and list of attendees on the top. Then, we have a similar comments and agenda section for me to fill in before the meeting to help me remember anything I want to bring up or refer to in the meeting. The notes section is where I summarize the things we discuss by topic or by team. Everything is added here as a table, so it's easy to add rows and color code them to help group the items if I need to. Then in the next steps, again, I write the tasks to be done and who's going to actually do it. I've added an extra color coding here to help track the urgent tasks from the low priority ones, as usually in these meetings, we walk away with a lot of items and urgent things can get lost in the list. So this just helps each owner prioritize their workload. Finally, I have an extra section to add links, so different departments can add links to relevant documents or presentations or whatever that everyone may need access to. Again, there's nothing revolutionary here, but it really doesn't need to be. A simple template like this is so easy to customize and adjust based on what I need in different meetings. That's it for my note-taking system. Hopefully this was useful and helps you organize your work a little better moving forward. So that's it for this video, and see you in the next one.